Hello, this is Leah Murphy with a quick demonstration of a stereo expander plugin I am calling the Stereo Sky. Basically, it uses the SRS Labs patent that they used for 3D audio back in 2009. And it's just a little play on that with a bunch of really cool customizable controls for user ease. So let me show you the block diagram real fast of the algorithm. Basically, it uses a sum and difference channel concept to increase the perceived stereo width. So it's going to take it only works in stereo to stereo. There's no mono to stereo or anything going on. It's purely a stereo input and a stereo output. So it takes a stereo input and takes a left channel and basically sends part of it through a high-pass filter, and it takes the right channel and sends it through a high-pass filter. And I'm going to go through the difference channel first. And then it takes the difference of the left and right, scales it by some factor, and then sends it through 3 different filters. And these filters basically control the stereo-ness of it. One of those filters is a parametric EQ, which is going to have Q control and center frequency control, as well as cut boost. A high shelf filter, which only really has a boost and center frequency, and then an all-pass filter. And the all-pass filter is actually kind of interesting, but it basically just influences the phase of this filter, and it's going to lead to some really cool effects in the future. So all of these 3 filters are then summed together with the original, or actually differenced together with the original right signal and then the left signal as well. However, the left signal, which is the sum, is actually scaled by some factor. And I have the function definitions for that right below here. So let's move to this. This might be a little confusing because there's so many definitions of these are the actual ones in code. But you basically have control over the sum level and the difference level. And by altering the values of these 2 levels, you can get different really cool effects, as well as altering all of the different parameters of the filters. This sum level and the original right input are differenced with all of the filter inputs to get you the right output, and the left output is the sum of the original left input signal and the summed input signal and the filter signal. So you have the difference down at the bottom, which goes to the right, and the sum up at the top, which goes to the left. There is also a cool user function that allows you to bypass this first little block here and only listen to the sum of the left and right channels going through the filters. So it allows the user to easily manipulate these filter values, hearing what they're doing. Because when you hear it in the output without bypassing all of these lines, you really don't know. You can't hear what the filters are doing. But this EQ listen switch allows the user just to bypass everything else except for the filters to listen to what exactly they're doing, so they can get the best result and tune it to what they're actually doing. So that's the block diagram. Here is the project open in RackFX. Here's all my prototyping stuff. Many of these knobs aren't actually being used in the UI. They're just mostly for tuning. And in the UI, I have a whole load of cool the ease of use functions. This intensity basically is going to control. Well, actually, let me start with the master volume. Master volume is just the volume of the output and scales from negative 24 dB to 2 dB. I've noticed that when the sum and difference levels are super pushed, it's really easy to clip. So that's why I only had 2 dB there, because the user isn't going to really need to boost more than that for any perceived loudness drop. More likely the user is going to have to, decrease the volume by 3 to 10 dB, depending on what they're doing in order to, properly gain stage. Down at the bottom, there's all the filter controls. The intensity knob is basically controlling the Q of the parametric EQ. So a higher intensity is going to be a sharper Q, and a lower intensity is going to be a more smooth Q. And I named it intensity because it sort of makes it a little bit more of a harsh sound. The color knob is actually the center frequency of the parametric EQ. So of course this is in hertz, but I do not have the available number down there. But lower color is going to correspond to a lower center frequency of the parametric EQ, and it's going to be a little darker in sound. Whereas if it's higher in color, then it's going to be a higher center frequency and therefore perceived as a little brighter. We also have the brightness knob, which is the gain of the high shelf filter. I also forgot to mention the color knob changes both the center frequency of the parametric EQ and the center frequency of the high shelf. So the ratio between the parametric EQ and the high shelf is the same. Here's the filter listen knob that you just select in the down position in order to listen to these three controls and what they're actually doing. So now over here we have the actual functions that determine the perceived stereo width, and we have the size control, which is actually controls multiple parameters, including the all-pass filter gain, the high shelf filter gain, so it does actually influence the brightness knob just a little bit, I think by a factor of 0.01. A difference signal gain, which is the difference level here, and then the output gain. So the sum level is actually going to stay the same completely through this. Really, we're only changing the difference level. That's mostly what this size is doing. It's changing the difference level. All those other tweaks are just to make it a little more smoother and a little more round. The width knob here is actually the all-pass filter center frequency. So it has some really cool phase effects. This encompasses the whole range of frequencies from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and it does some really cool effects when you play around with it. So now I'm going to do a quick demonstration actually running audio through this plugin. So let's take a look. Filter listen functionality. So in this case, the master volume is not controlled. So for really low intensity, you can hear how it's a little more round. The color knob doesn't. It has the effect of moving the center frequency of the filter. It's not as sharp. More of those peaks. Go all the way. You can really target a frequency that you really want to. Let's move the intensity down. Smooth out that curve. Now we have the brightness knob. It's really high brightness. That high shelf is really boosted with the brightness knob all the way up. Lowering the brightness knob, however, gives you, that high shelf is actually at negative 24 dB in that position. It's going to start from 0 dB. So you're attenuating a lot of those highs. Now if we engage, or disengage, the filter listen knob, we can hear more how the final sound is going to be. So what I like to do is I like to set the filter, sort of like tonally what I want to get. Set the size around half, and then increase the width until I can really hear the amount that I want to achieve. And then just mess around with the size amount so that it sits where you want. So that is all for the Stereo Sky Expander. I hope you learned something and enjoyed this. This will be available on my website. It should be in the description of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.